Hi everyone, my name is Henrik Din. Thank you for landing onto this video. I'm a former international student and immigrant now living in the US. So I did a video a couple weeks ago that actually went really viral on Instagram. And I don't mean viral in the sense where it hit 1 million views, but I did hit 100,000 views. And as a result, I had a couple of people reach out to me and ask me a couple of questions. So I want to take this video to answer the first question that I had from a fellow follower of mine that asked me, how do I actually come study in the States? And what are the steps necessary to get here? So I will try my best to lay out a step-by-step plan for you in order for you to understand what it takes for you to get here. Talk about more of the legal stuff, the financial stuff, and the cultural stuff as we go along. So the first step that I would recommend for you if you're wanting to come study in the States is actually to prepare yourself mentally for the 4-year journey you're gonna go through. So most colleges and universities in the US have like a standard 4-year long degree. But if you can find a 2-year or a 3-year program, you're more than welcome to do so. But just traditionally, 4 years is where it's at. Now, if you do come here for a 4-year degree, you must prepare for the 4 years that you're gonna be here. Now that means you have to prepare yourself financially and also mentally, because you're gonna go through a lot of different changes and you're gonna have to adapt to a new country. Now for me, when I came here as a freshman, I didn't really understand the whole educational system. I did go to an international school back home in Bangkok, but when I came here in the US, there was just a little bit of a different and nuances that were happening. So before you get here, you need to make sure that you have all the prerequisites to come to the university, first of all. For some of you, I'm not sure if this is what you have in your home countries. In Bangkok, at least, we had what we call the TOEFL exam, TOEFL. It's like an English proficiency exam. And this exam helps standardize whether or not you have a good grasp of the English language. So the US schools are all gonna ask that. Your SAT and your TOEFL scores are gonna be very relevant in their application process. So try your best to learn English as best as you can and try to comprehend as best as you can. That way, when you get to this country, you're not lost and you have no clue what's going on. When you're preparing yourself for the 4-year journey, you also wanna know that financially, you need to support yourself. A pro tip that I would give you is every F1 student, which is the visa that you're gonna get, has the privilege to work on campus, but you cannot work off campus. So that's a very big distinguishing factor. When you work on campus, you're treated as like a normal employee. If the job pays you minimum wage, then you get minimum wage. But when you work off campus, it may look different. So try your best to stay within the campus. That's really important, to be within the confines. So when you come to the States and you need to support yourself financially, try to find a job that pays you well, but also within your campus. Secondly, I want to advise you also on the cultural adjustment that you're going to go through. I came to a school in the West Coast, which is in California, and the cultures are very different around the States. I can't speak for a school in the East Coast. I can't speak for a school in the Midwest. I can't speak for a school even in like Washington State, for example. I only know how it feels like to go to school in Southern California. And that culture in itself is very different. So I would ask you to actually research on the areas that you're gonna go to. So if you're going to Seattle for school, you wanna know how people in Washington act or what they're actually interested in. Same thing with the East Coast. If you're going to school in New York or Boston, you want to understand how the people there behave and act. So that way you're not so lost when you actually arrive to the country and to the school itself. I want to also emphasize on the part where when you prepare yourself financially, you want to understand the financial system in the US as well. So there's not going to be a lot of leeway being an international student. Sometimes even banks might deny you from time to time just because they don't think that you have enough of a legality substance to actually open a bank account. But a lot of the big banks will allow you to open accounts. So for me, what I started was with Bank of America, and I ventured off to see other options as well. That's all up to you, but try your best to find a bank that actually will accept your documents first and just open an account. Sometimes there's actually maybe not sometimes, but I think most banks have student accounts that you can open, and there are certain fees that you can waive and whatnot. but you need to provide the accurate documents. So have your documents ready at all times. So this means that keep your documents in one folder, and that way whenever you go to these institutions, like a bank's institution or like Homeland, for example, you will have these documents ready and you'll be able to present them. So that would actually be my most biggest important advice, is to keep all your documents in order. And lastly, my step 4 would be that depending on your country, if you're trying to plan to come here for 4 years, you want to make sure that you're doing the right arrangements before you leave. So that means if you need to see your friends before you leave, if you need to talk to your family before you leave, or if you want to do like a one last vacation in your hometown, do that. Because what I will say is that the uncertainty of moving to a different country and not knowing what happens when you leave is one of the most uncertain, doubtful feelings you will get. But in the long run, it's actually going to pay off because you have more appreciation towards your country and culture. So do the arrangements that you need to. Talk to your family, talk to your friends, talk to your teachers, do what you need to before you move. Because once you move, you never know when you might be able to come back. And of course, if you're lucky enough to come back every single year because your legal visas approve you to, then great. But for me, in my case, that wasn't the solution to everything that I did here. So what ended up happening was I couldn't go back home for quite a long time. So do your best, be appreciative of what you've got. Every country has their own legal restrictions and legal circumstances, so it would be best for you to research on that. But try your best to look through it all, see what you can do, and do the steps that I told you. Just to recap, number 1, prepare yourself mentally before you come here. 2, get every document in one folder. 3rd, you want to make sure you work on campus because that's the only way you can earn money. If you do outside of campus, you will get in trouble. And 4th, you want to make sure that you're arranging, whatever you need to before you leave, even if maybe it's the last time you get to see them for now in a long, long time, then you've done it. So don't have any regrets. If you need to make the move and you will see your life change. But if you're comfortable staying at home, by all means though, don't try to waste so much money to go to a school across the world and not benefit from it. This is my experience, at least. I've had a lot of benefits, but I've also had a lot of risk, consequences that has happened from doing so. So I wouldn't want to always say, hey, you should go to a different country and study. Do what's best for you, do what's best for your family, and see if you can do that. That's my advice for you. Thank you for watching.